I'm Mike Mandel, Chief Economist and Vice President of the Progressive Policy Institute. Welcome to our webinar on platform work and the care economy. In particular, how people can use platform work, ride sharing, delivery, and so forth to fit together their lives with the very large amount of time that people spend taking care of loved ones. I'm joined here by Cora Mandapath, who is an app-based rideshare driver from the San Francisco area. Hi, Cora.
Hi there. Hi, everybody.
And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort of provide a little bit of context. Then we'll talk to Cora a bit, and then we'll sort of dive deeper into some of the data. What do I mean? What do I mean by the care economy? That's a term that's being used much more frequently these days. Okay, America's aging population means that many workers are spending more hours than ever taking care of older parents, and I include myself in that as well. At the same time, the time burden of raising children has not diminished. That means on any given day, roughly about a third of the working age population is engaged in providing unpaid care, 36%. That's an enormous number, any given day, right? That's people that are taking time out of their lives to provide care for kids, provide care for parents, provide care for unrelated adults who are part of their family, part of their extended family. And to get an idea about how big this is, that if Americans were paid $15 per hour for their unpaid caregiving labor, then the total value of the time spent on unpaid care would be almost $1 trillion per year. Almost $1 trillion. That's an enormous amount. Now, here's the problem. We can't stop people from being children. Children always need care. We can't stop people from growing older. But here's what we can do. The nature of work in America means that unpaid care is far more stressful than it needs to be. In an ideal world, people with caregiving responsibilities would search out part-time positions that fit their specific situations, or they'd work for full-time jobs that had some flexibility. But here's the problem. What we learned in this analysis is that conventional part-time employment tends to offer lower hourly pay than comparable full-time positions, and as it turns out, much less flexibility. So conventional part-time work is actually not a good fit with unpaid caregiving. Therefore, caregivers are forced to either accept low-paid and inflexible part-time jobs or take conventional full-time jobs with all the stress of combining work and unpaid care responsibilities, or drop out of the paid workforce completely. Notably, this difficult decision and the burden of unpaid care in general falls mainly on women. We estimate that the size of the caregiving gender gap is valued at $325 billion per year. This caregiving gender gap is especially large for part-time job holders. Among working age women who hold part-time employment, 49% have unpaid care responsibilities on the average day, compared to 30% of men with part-time employment, based on our tabulations of government data. Furthermore, these averages don't convey the unpredictable nature of the caregiving role. It's one thing for a single working mother to arrange her schedule to be home by 6 o'clock to make dinner and assist with homework. It's quite something else when a child suddenly falls ill and needs to be kept home from school for a day or week. Elder care is even more unpredictable. Medical crisis can happen suddenly, as when an aging parent falls, breaks their hip, and can no longer stay in the house where they have lived for 50 years. The nature of aging is that unpaid care responsibilities cannot be postponed or scheduled in advance. So what we're going to talk about today is how platform work, such as work facilitated by companies such as Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, and Instacart, can improve earnings opportunities for many Americans in the care economy. But before diving in to the data, before diving in to the analysis in the paper, which is really pretty interesting, let's talk to Cora a little bit about how she fits platform work with caregiving.
Okay.
Cora,
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Okay, I wonder what happened. Hold on a second.
It's technology.
Oh, start. Okay,
Oh,
here
there
we
you
go.
go.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, I
So,
can't see you.
so
Long you can see me.
I can see you. Okay. So why don't you start? Where are you located right now?
I'm in Emeryville, California, right now.
And what's the weather like there? It's been raining there for weeks, right?
Yes, and we've gotten a nice break yesterday and today, so it's incredible.
So, you are provide caregiving for both the younger generation and the older generation. Why don't
Yes,
you
I
just
am.
tell me a little bit about who you provide care for?
Okay, my priority, of course, is my son who has scoliosis, and frequent doctor visits and physical therapy is multiple times in a week is already, it's an important task for me, and that's all unpaid. And I'll do it again and again because mothers love. And then I also take care of a couple, an elderly couple he's 79 and she's 78, and I bring the gentleman to dialysis 3 times a week, back and forth, and then I do some of their grocery shopping, errands, and even more doctor's appointments. And I do that willingly and openly for about 5 years now.
Well,
And
that's
then
so
on top
great.
of that, I have other people that I help in little tiny
Little
tasks.
ways. Well,
Mhm.
that's really great of you. And these are obviously time consuming. Okay. Do these tasks change from week to week, or are they fairly regular? I mean, like
So
for your son.
uh, changes week to week. And whatever nowadays, getting appointments can be a little challenging. So that's why I'm here in Emeryville today. It's usually in Stanford in Redwood City, and today it's in Emeryville. So I have to be flexible at the snap of a finger. And I still have a 17-year-old daughter that still has activities in high school. And so I have to be available anytime, every time.
Oh my, that's pretty amazing. Okay. So I mean, how much um so you when you drive, who do you drive for?
I am registered for primarily Lyft, and I've tried Uber, but I just love everything about Lyft. So I only do Lyft now for years.
Okay. So how easy or hard is it to sort of, you know, work flexible hours for Lyft?
Um, if I couldn't do this, then I can't do everything I'm doing for everybody and still be able to make that income. I'm primarily, I love night driving. It's so perfect for my lifestyle. I can do anything and everything the whole day long and drive at night and make enough money to meet my obligations, my financial, especially now it's so tough. And
with
I'm
the with the with
thankful.
the with the rising prices. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So do you find, so you adjust your hours to sort of meet your income goals?
Yes, I do. And especially when it's the end of the month, you got to pay your mortgage and bills. I just drive a lot more. I do hours in the day, but heavily at night. For me, it's a choice, and I can do it, and I still make all my obligations fine. So, which is an incredible thing to do. And if I need some funds for a project for my kids or whatever, I just I'm just so happy that all I have to do is go and drive out there, and money is made. And I feel so good about doing the actual, the job itself and transporting somebody from A to B. It's very satisfying.
So if in the absence, and I think you answered this already, in the absence of an option for sort of flexible, platform work, you would sort of have to sort of drop some of the care that you were giving to people.
Yes. And I experienced some of that when I was raising my kids when they were young. I was working for corporate America, and I would have to find somebody I would hire somebody just to do something as simple as picking up my kids and finding and networking with other parents. And it became stressful, especially you don't know unless you know that person, and it's kind of like you do your own kind of co-op. And but that was then. But for me to be able to do what I'm doing now, there's no way that I could do this working for an employer. You know how it is. If you're absent a lot, if you're late a lot, you are fired. I know people who had that situation, and it's painful. And I don't have to deal with that problem. It's the incredible flexibility, whatever it is I need to do, whatever I want to do.
That's pretty
Incredible.
amazing. Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wanted to talk about?
I'm just, in thought that I hope that whoever's listening to this will understand um, the point of view of the app-based worker. Okay, I have friends that even do other app-based driving, other companies like DoorDash. One of my good friends does that, and I did that before in the past. And if you couldn't do this, then we would be in a very bad situation. So
I,
I'm
I
thankful.
think I think this is one of the big advantages of the modern economy, is that that it creates jobs that has sort of both flexibility and decent pay, okay, and the ability to sort of work more when people want. So that's great. Um, well, I wanted to thank you for sort of joining us today. You're
Thank
welcome to
you.
you're welcome to stay. Okay, you're welcome to leave if you need to drive, uh, whichever one you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mendel, and everybody else involved. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we heard from Cora about what it means to sort of be a driver in terms of flexibility. Um, so we did this paper, and the genesis of the paper was actually a little bit of my own experience, sort of taking care of my parents, and the need to sort of how much issues and uh, uh, problems that they had. Okay, and flexibility was important. Um, and I see this with all of my friends. All right, and the thing is that there's sort of work jobs in this economy. Okay, most full-time jobs. Okay, sort of working for in a factory, say, or working in a hospital. Uh, there's very little. The amount of flexibility is I don't know. I wouldn't say marginal, but sort of less than is optimal. All right, and we're seeing an increasing number of elderly. We're seeing, the number of children is not going down. Let me actually show a chart here. Make sure I get the right one. Okay. You should be seeing a chart here about the growth of the care economy. The light blue line is the number of children aged 0 to 14 years old, okay, which has risen slightly from 2000 to 2022. And then the dark blue line is the number of elderly 65 plus and over, which is climbing and will continue climbing, obviously. And that's just a real reality here, that more and more people are going to be facing caregiving responsibilities going forward that they're going to need flexibility for. So some of the caregiving is provided by paid workers. And one of the things, there's about 4.5 million full-time equivalent workers engaged in elder care. Based on our estimates, these are paid workers. Okay. And the child care services industry employs about 700,000 full-time equivalent workers, and that's up about 10% since 2007. But the truth is that paid caregiving is actually much less important to the economy than unpaid caregiving. And it's funny, unpaid caregiving is real work, but it doesn't get counted in GDP. And perhaps it should be, because it's so important. So what I did is I actually calculated the number of hours that are worked in unpaid care. So let me put that up on the screen as well. So this actually breaks down unpaid caregiving hours and full-time equivalent employment in 2021. The left-hand column is the unpaid care for and helping household children and adults. And then the right-hand column is unpaid caring for and helping non-household children and adults. And if you were listening to Cora, she was talking about helping an elderly couple, and those come under the category of non-household adults. And so roughly any particular day, more than a fifth of the population is engaged in caring for household children and adults, and almost 10% for non-household children and adults. And if we accumulated those over the year, it would actually rise enough time, increasingly. And when you sort of add it all up, this is on line 5 of this table, there's 900 million hours per week in unpaid care for and helping household children and adults, and 350 million hours per week, in unpaid caring for non-household children and adults. That usually includes elderly who are sort of, not living in the same household. And when you sort of add it all up, what you get is that if you sort of turn the number of people doing unpaid care into full-time equivalent, it'll be about 30 million jobs. Now, 30 million jobs is bigger than the size of the healthcare sector, bigger than the size of manufacturing, bigger than the size of retail. It's just an enormous amount. So if we sort of actually sort of calculated unpaid caring as real part of the economy, the care economy is enormous. The other thing about unpaid caregiving is that it's extremely unpredictable. All right. Now, when you go into work each day, you're working 40 hours, you show up at 8, you leave at 5, maybe you have a lunch hour, maybe you have a coffee break. But when you're doing unpaid care, you don't have that predictability. You don't have, you don't have the knowledge that every week, every day, that taking your kid to the doctor, taking your elderly parent, okay, to physical therapy, any one of a number of different things. It's not always the same time. It's not always the same day. I mean, Cora was talking about the unpredictability. Very important, because it's actually one of the central characteristics of unpaid caring, which is that has to be like that. You don't know, an elderly person falls, breaks their hip, okay, kid gets sick, things happen, they can't take care of themselves, they need help right then. And so when we did the analysis of the care economy, we dived deeply into it, and what we understood, and Cora talked about this, is that platform work has several important characteristics. One is that it has downward flexibility, and the other is that it has upward flexibility. Downward flexibility means the ability to not work when you have other obligations. So if you've got to take a kid to the doctor, or you've got to take a kid to physical therapy, you can do that when you need to. You can schedule it when the appointments are available, okay, and know that you can rearrange your work around that. That's incredibly important for platform, advantage of platform work. But what we also know is about upward flexibility. And once again, Cora mentioned this too. Okay, upward flexibility means that you can increase the number of hours the platform work enables you to increase the number of hours that you work. If you need to either make up income, or you need to sort of get income for a particular reason, right? Ordinary conventional full-time work or part-time work, you're sort of up to the whims of the employer. Do they have more? Are they willing to give you more hours? Okay, are they willing to give you more hours when you can work it? and it's very hit or miss. You don't have the assurance that you can find those extra hours when you need them. So sort of paradoxically, the flexibility of platform work, whether it's ride sharing or delivery, okay, or Lyft or Uber or DoorDash or Instacart, the flexibility actually allows workers to smooth their income, to sort of make up income when they need it, to know that they can set targets and make it by working more hours when they have the hours. All right. And so that's actually really amazing. Okay. And it's a characteristic of platform work that really wasn't present for any other part of conventional jobs. Conventional part-time jobs are, well, I'll get to that in a second. I want to say a bit about the gender gap first before kind of doing into detail. One of the things that's really consistent in the data about caregiving is that it tends to sort of fall more, unpaid caregiving tends to fall more on women than on men. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's cultural reasons, there's financial reasons. Okay. But what's striking is when we looked at the data, so let's actually pull this up. The right-hand column is the percentage of part-time workers aged 25 to 64 who report caring for household and non-household members an individual day. The top line is women, the bottom line is men. We can see that 49% of part-time female workers reported that they had caregiving responsibilities on an individual day, and only 30% of men. That's kind of, that ratio is really characteristic of pretty much any of this data. But surprisingly, Lyft did a survey of drivers, okay, for its 2022 economic impact report. And the percentage of men and women drivers who reported routinely providing care for family members or loved ones. The percentages, that's the first column in table 1, was roughly about the same. So, there's two possibilities here. Either, and maybe both possibilities are true, either that platform work attracts men who are sort of more likely to be doing caregiving work because it's more flexible, okay? Or the flexibility, and especially the upward flexibility of caregiving work, makes it more attractive for men to sort of take on caregiving responsibilities. We sort of leave this kind of as an open question, but there is a possibility that platform work is could be sort of reducing the gender gap in unpaid caring responsibility. Let me mention the link between the difference between conventional part-time jobs and platform work. So when you look at the data, what you see is that conventional part-time work usually incurs a wage penalty. And most studies show that part-time workers make substantially lower hourly wages than similar full-time workers. This part-time wage penalty is generally larger for men. By contrast, platform work generally offers the same pay scale no matter how much time a worker puts in. To the extent that there are small wrinkles in the pay structure, such as incentives for driving during high demand periods, they are mostly available to all drivers. Thus, platform work does not unfairly penalize workers for the privilege of working part-time. this is actually a really important point. Um, what we want, I mean, we know what conventional part-time work is. Conventional part-time work is your hours are generally assigned by your employer. You don't, you have to sort of ask permission to sort of work less hours, work more hours. It's hard. And you're probably getting less flexibility than you would if you had in a full-time job, despite it being part-time work. So for example, a February 2022 report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics used newly collected data to ask the question, does part-time work offer flexibility to employed mothers? And they meant conventional part-time work. And the answer was no, okay? That it was that part-time jobs are less flexible than conventional part-time jobs are less flexible, and they pay less on an hourly basis than full-time jobs. By that measure, platform work is a plus both on the flexibility and on the lack of penalty, okay, for part-time workers. If you decide to cut back your hours, you're not being penalized in terms of hourly pay. Now, one way to think about this is that the platformers have invested a lot of money in technology to take orders, fairly apportion them out to their platform workers, to their drivers, and to the deliverers, and they sort of do this in real time. So there's a heavy investment in technology. So in some sense, if we were sort of to divide up this investment in technology by worker, all of a sudden there's a lot, these workers have a lot more technology available to them than they did before. Certainly than they did as, by comparison with taxi drivers or with other delivery personnel. So what we've seen is that the platforms enable us to leverage technology to create flexibility for unpaid caregivers in a way that is actually producing value, not just for them, but for the people that they're caring for, who would either have to pay for care or would have to go without, basically. I mean, I know it's hard to say, but there's a lot of people these days that are sort of struggling without care. So I think that probably the best way to sort of sum this up is that individuals like Cora, okay, right, have the ability to sort of take advantage of this flexibility, to both the downward and the upward flexibility, to move around their hours, to work more when they need to sort of have an income goal that is not tied to low hourly pay, but it does not penalize them when they need to work less. And they're able to sort of take care of the people in their lives in a better way. And so, thank you. Okay, so this kind of combines, the caring and the technology side of today's economy in a way that people don't usually think about very much. Okay. Now, Cora, I don't know, you've been listening. This has been really nice to have you stay. Is there anything you wanted to add at this point?
Just honored to be here, and thank you for being a very good voice for a very good cause. And I'm gonna be here whenever I'm needed and requested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, I think, please feel free to sort of put them into the chat. I'll sort of hold up for just a second here before I close off. Okay, so the full report is the platform work in the care economy is on PPI's website, and you can find it there. If you want to contact me, you can sort of reach me directly at mmandal@progressivepolicy.org. Always happy to talk about this. We're going to be doing more work in this area because it's just so important. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.